Hi, I'm Toby Loxton at TFL Creative Media and the creator of Locomotives of British Railways, Brighton. Our crew for this particular train is made up of some talented voice actors, some great filmmakers, a music composer, model makers, and even a pyrotechnics expert, which will come into play eventually. So this is not necessarily a solo act. This is quite a production. There's quite a few people on this production who care very much about it and want to do something creative and something wonderful, and I think that this particular project and what it entails is really going to show that. Locomotives of British Railways is a historical dark comedy which is about trains with faces, taking the concept that we all know and love from Thomas and Friends and taking a more grounded but still quite humorous spin on it. The series takes place in the 1950s and 60s, which was a time where the world was going through quite drastic and quite relevant changes. At that time, the world was in the midst of a Cold War. Women's rights were starting to become more apparent, and even rock and Beatles music was starting to become more entertaining. But it was also a time where steam locomotives was starting to become a thing of the past, or it was starting to become more apparent that they were a thing of the past, because as the Second World War had just passed, people were starting to take the train more often, and it was a world where it was changing, but they were still used to the fact that there were steam locomotives still around. Well, particularly in Britain anyway. And that's what's so exciting about this series, that it's taking place during the 1950s and 60s on British Railways. And British Railways was a great time period for railway history. I mean, it was very well documented thanks to regular news broadcasts and great filmmakers like Ivo Peters taking plenty of films in those days when it was possible. And also it showed a magnificent transition between steam and diesel, which is something that will be covered pretty heavily and strongly in the series as we go further down the road. I mean, also in terms of British Railways, it also looked really good. I mean, it was a blur of green, black and blue, sometimes red, and it was grimier, dirtier. It was a lot more going on, a lot more activity, as it was one whole united railway, and there was a lot of great stories to tell from that time period, which is what I find so fascinating about that time period and why we're covering that particular time period for this particular series. The thing is about British Railways is that there was a lot of sheds with a lot of history to them from all of the different regions all over the country, in the Midlands, in the West, in the Northeast. But as the title suggests, we are going to start off by covering one particular shed, which is what this whole first chapter is going to be about. So for all of those railway enthusiasts, filmmakers and YouTube goers out there, I am very pleased to present to you all your first look at the southern region of British Railways, shed number 75A, Brighton.